Hi guys, and welcome back to the LINA BHUDIA Podcast. If you are new here, please subscribe, like, comment and turn on that notification button so you get notified every time I upload new content. So I'm using a new mic this time and I really hope the sound quality is better than my previous uploads, because in some of my previous uploads it kind of sounded like my voice at times was a little bit muffled and the mic was picking up my breath and static on certain vocal sounds. So I hope this one will sound better. I've not spent big money on brand new podcast equipment. There's nothing fancy here. This is literally a mic that I brought off Amazon and actually forgot that I even had it. So I found it, I'm going to try it out, use it, and hopefully we'll get a better quality podcast. So the past week has flown by, and one of the biggest things to happen in the social media land was Jeffree Star's Do What's Right video. So in a lovely wide-angled video showcasing his glamorous house, or which I think was his house. It was a glamorous looking space anyway. He was sat on a great big massive couch in a pink gown, like a baby pink nighty gown, like a bathrobe type thing, which was super weird. Like, why didn't he just dress properly like a regular person? I'm assuming he put thought into the video, and I just wonder what the rationale to the pink robe was. So that was completely random. Anyway, he posted the video a week ago on the 19th of July, and currently the video has over 11 million views. And this is the video that everyone has been waiting for in relation to the drama, or the situation as Jeffree calls it, involving Tati, James Charles, Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson. And Tati, if you remember in her last video concerning all of this, said that we should expect Jeffree to respond in a big way and be ready to forgive the people that he would attempt to cancel. And I kind of feel like she double played him a little bit here in quite a smart, calculated perhaps way, because now if he comes out all guns blazing, showcasing these receipts to prove his innocence, prove that he was right all along, he would basically be doing exactly what she said he would, and most likely he doesn't want what she is saying to be proved true, unless he's going to admit that he has done the things that she's saying, which he doesn't, by the way. So yeah, I kind of feel like she cornered him into this position where he can't go off on one because, well, simply because she said that he would, and he can't be showing to be doing what she said he would, if that makes sense. So yeah, she totally cornered him, and I think he's kind of played the game that she may have wanted him to play, actually. So he basically opens up with telling us that he's done a lot of self-reflection during his silence, because people have been wondering why he has been so quiet and why he hasn't responded and why he hasn't had Shane Dawson's back when Shane has been basically copping the flack through all this. And he basically says that he didn't want to do what he's done in the past, which is just to grab his phone and kind of in the moment talk out of emotions or anger, which just reminded me of Shane Dawson's response when he went live on Instagram Live as he watched Tati's video, and in my opinion didn't help himself in the matter because he looked so panicked in a guilty way, kind of like he'd been caught out there. So maybe Jeffree's approach on this occasion is the right one, and perhaps a bit more thoughtful on his part. So one thing that really stood out for me is when he talks about how he won't be sharing the receipts, and he specifically says, today I will not. And that kind of made me think, well, he's left it open to release whatever receipts it is that he has. He's just not going to do it today. It was an interesting choice of words, and one that makes it sound like he's taken the high road, but he can easily get out of it when or if he does decide to release those receipts, because basically he said that he wouldn't release them on that day. That's the exact words that he picked. He wasn't going to release them today. So, I mean, maybe he's using his own clever wording there, but we'll find out. We'll see what happens as this progresses on. We know his lawyers are involved. We know Tati's lawyers are involved, and we'll see what comes of it. And another thing that stood out, which quite a few people have pointed out, is how he tells us to remind him to take accountability of his own actions, but then he switched off the comments to the video, so people can't actually do that. People can't do the thing that he's telling them to do, which was, I mean, it says a lot. Sometimes when people don't say anything or don't allow you to say anything, that says a lot. So it was interesting that he would say that and then switch the comments off. I also found that he kept talking about past mistakes and reflecting on his actions, but he doesn't actually say what he's done. He talks about getting mixed up in drama, but doesn't say or give details as to what he did. He's pretty vague, and when he gets to his apology to James Charles, he just says that he wants to apologise for the words that he said and the actions that he has done, but he doesn't say what words and what actions. It's like he's distanced himself to the thing that he's apologising for. So to me, it just doesn't come across as a sincere apology, because he's not acknowledging what specifically he has done. And maybe he just assumes that people watching will know, but if you're going to apologise publicly, I think you should make it clear what you are apologising for, because if someone was to just stumble across this video, it doesn't sound like that big a deal. It doesn't sound serious. But the accusations that have been made about James Charles, they are serious. And then Jeffree also says something very similar to what Tati said in her video, which was that she believed what other people were telling her and got gassed up by that, and acknowledged that basically that was wrong, because they should have just called James and spoken to him first, but didn't, and that was a mistake. Now, others have said it, and I'm just going to repeat it. Let us not forget that these people are in their 30s. 30s, acting like little 15-year-olds. They are in their 30s. Like this whole, I got gassed up by others and I should have asked you, that whole excuse is pathetic in the highest way possible. You people are in your 30s and try to destroy a 19-year-old. It's so embarrassing. It's so sad. Like, that's just the most pathetic excuse, and I think neither one of them, Tati or Jeffree Star, don't care whose side you're on, that's a really lame excuse, and it just isn't good enough. And then randomly, in the middle of the video, Jeffree starts to... he basically just throws in the Black Lives Matter movement. The entirety of the video has nothing to do with that. And even if the Jeffree Star stans wanted to defend him on bringing attention to a subject that does need attention brought to it, no one's saying that it doesn't, but if he feels that passionately about actual problems, then why didn't he put any links in the description box so that his listeners, viewers, subscribers, stans could click on those links and help with this situation. Like 11 million people would have heard him talk about it, but he didn't provide anything useful, and yet he's saying, why are we gassed up on all of this social media beauty drama when there's actual problems? Well, Jeffree, if there's actual problems and you want to draw attention to those so that people aren't focused on you, why don't you do something about it and bring your stands together and direct them to these links so that we can do something about this kind of terrible behaviour that's going on in the world? Because it's true, these are actual problems. The Black Lives Matter movement is an actual problem, and it's a much bigger problem than Jeffree Star's bloody drama. But it comes across as though he was just using it as a way to deflect from his own drama, because what he has caused is now backfiring on him. So I just don't think he should have mentioned the Black Lives Matter movement, because it just doesn't come across good on him. And something else that he shouldn't have done is to plug his own brand at the end of the video. Like, if there's a way to make money, Jeffree Star will find it. What is this? Is this an apology video? Is this you acknowledging that you've made mistakes, but you're still going to plug yourself at the end and your brand? Again, that's just something that he shouldn't have done. He used it as an opportunity to plug his brand and plug the fact that he's going to be releasing whatever the hell it is that he's going to be releasing in August. No one cares. Like, why have you used this video to plug your brand when you're supposed to be self-reflecting? Overall, I just don't think it was a good video, but it's Jeffree Star and his brand will continue. He's still a multi-millionaire. Yes, he's lost a lot of subscribers on his YouTube channel, but there's still millions upon millions upon millions of people who are still subscribed to him, who are still going to watch his videos. He's still going to get his ad revenue cents. He's plugged his brand. His stands are still going to go out and buy his products. People are talking about him right now. It's not great, but then they'll move on and the next drama will occur, and then the next apology video will occur, and Jeffree, I think, will get away with this relatively unscathed, I think. So kind of makes you wonder, was any of this even worth it? Was trying to pull James Charles down in such a horrific way worth it? I guess the answer to that would be no, because whatever the reason for wanting to drag James Charles down, it hasn't worked, because if anything, he's come out stronger and better than before, and actually has shown quite a lot of growth, I feel, and has become quite a lot more likeable, I think. And it's backfiring more so on Tati, Shane and Jeffree Star. Shane has probably been delivered the biggest blow on this, but that is accumulated with other things that he has also done in the past, which is backfiring just all at once. But no, I think they'll just carry on. I think this is just a hiccup in all of their careers, and then they'll probably just carry on and get away with it, and their stands will continue, and that will be that. Hi guys, this is really annoying because I'm having to re-record this part of the podcast because I don't know why, but the audio went horrifically wrong in the previous version. I managed to get the Jeffree Star parts in just fine, and a little bit of this section of the podcast, and then I don't really know what happens, but there was a really awful hissing noise in my previous version, and I've done everything I can to remove that noise, but it just messed up the entire audio, and I thought the best way to fix that was to re-record. So apologies if the audio sounds a little bit different now than it did in the previous parts of this podcast, but it's because I am re-recording That's what happens when you're not a professional podcaster and you're just using basic equipment. It doesn't go the way that you want it to. So I will try and get that fixed and make sure we have better audio going forward. I don't know what the plan to do that is right now, but we move. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not the best podcaster in the world, so hopefully I can get away with it just for this one, and we'll come back swinging for the next one. Don't you worry. But basically, I'll just continue with how the last podcast went, and hopefully I can articulate myself the way that I did in the previous version, because I did quite a good job. But hey, mistakes happen. This is how it rolls. This is how things go. It's okay. I'm prepared to take the L and re-record and hopefully get a good podcast. So I am filming off my phone. The microphone that I had, clearly, I don't know if it was even the microphone or if it was, maybe I did something. I don't actually know. So anyway, we'll see how we get on. But what I later on in the podcast basically was talking about was, in this lockdown, I've been trying to get back to one of my passions, which is to read. I've always been a huge bookworm. Even when I was a kid, my English teacher actually one year, when we had parent-teacher evening, she said to my parents, I can tell she reads a lot. And I didn't used to take my books to school and read at school because I didn't want everyone to think I was a geek. I would always read at home, and I didn't like walk around telling everyone, oh, I love to read, I love to read. But she was able to pick up on the fact that I did read a lot, just based on the way that I used to write, and just based on kind of the way that I analysed the books that we would be reading in class. And I had no idea that reading was giving me such a unique writing skill and analysis skill until she pointed it out. And I kind of thought that was cool. And so I carried on reading as much as I possibly could, just because I enjoyed it so much. But of course, life moves on. You get older, you get a job, you have less time to juggle your life, your friends, your family, your job, relationships, whatever else. And reading kind of fell to the back burner, I guess. So yeah, I have been trying to read more during lockdown and make the most of the extra time that I have. And I've realised that my ability to focus on one thing, such as reading, has basically diminished. I don't know what's going on, you guys. Like, I'll pick up a book and it's a good book. I'm enjoying it. But for whatever reason, my mind can't get lost in a book the way that it used to. So I'll start reading and my mind will already start drifting off, literally like 2 minutes in. And I'm ready to open my Instagram app or Twitter or whatever else and see what's happening in social media land. And it got me thinking, and I just realized I feel like my life in general is like that, because I don't know if anyone else does this. Let me know in the comments if you do. But like, when I have my laptop switched on, most often than not, I will open up the internet. I'll have the window tab. I'll make the window smaller so that that window fits on half of the screen. And then I'll open up another internet window tab, make that a bit smaller so that fits on the right hand side. And I essentially have two different things going on one screen, and I'm paying attention to both. Whether it's kind of it might be Netflix on the left hand side, watching whatever show or whatever it is, and then on the right hand side I'll be scrolling social media or browsing online shopping or whatever it is that I'm doing. But it's never just one screen with one thing on it. And if there ever is an occasion where I've got the laptop screen on with whatever TV show playing, then I'll be watching that. But my second screen essentially becomes my phone, and I'm scrolling and doing whatever I'm doing on my phone. And my mind kind of works in the same way, in that I'll have a point that I want to say, but I'm very aware that all these other points are coming in, and I allow those other points, like the tabs, the different window tabs on my laptop. I allow those different things to step into my conversation and quite a lot go off tangent and end up waffling quite a lot. And sometimes don't get to the main point of what I'm trying to say. And I don't know if there's a way where I can recondition my mind to a point where it's the way that it used to be, where I can focus on one thing, articulate myself clearly, and not have so much else going on at the same time. Because in my mind, I've always been aware that, I think it happened when I started working, to be fair, and I think that's the first time really in your life where you are forced to multitask and carry out, and you are responsible, depending on what your job is, you're responsible for lots of different things. And while I think it's a good skill to be able to multitask, when it comes to day-to-day tasks in your own personal life, such as reading, such as watching a television show, to not be able to do that and focus on it without having something else going on feels counterproductive, because how much of that book, information, whatever it is, are you really digesting if you're part listening, part reading, part watching, and part doing something else as well? So I've basically set myself a challenge where I really want to train my mind into just focusing on one thing at one time and really giving it my undivided attention. Because I don't want to feel like I've missed out. I don't want to feel like I've read a book and then get to the end of it and I'm like, well, I don't really know what happened in that book, because I was reading it almost on autopilot, because I was like, half my mind was elsewhere whilst reading it. I kind of know what it's about, but not really. I don't like that feeling. So I really want to get back into being focused, being fully productive, being fully engaged in a activity rather than doing everything all at once. And just kind of for my own well-being and my own kind of mental state, where I feel like I've done something that I enjoyed doing, and didn't half-ass it because I was also doing something else at the same time. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else feels like that. I don't know if it's because of the evolution of technology, where having so many different things open, but for like an instant, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you go on Instagram, you get the latest posts, and then you can go onto Twitter and you get the latest posts, and then you go back to Instagram and there's two or three, maybe four more posts, and then you go back to Twitter and there's more things happening. Like, everyone's always uploading, so there's always something to see, and I find myself just switching back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I feel like I've taken that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth into my own personal tasks, and wanting to do everything in snippets but all at once. Does anyone else feel like that? Is that a technology thing? Because I feel like some people will probably say, oh, well, you've just got a very busy mind or things like that. And I do, but I've not always been like that. And I've gotten to a point where I kind of feel like it's having more of a detrimental value rather than a productive value. So yeah, that was something that was on my mind. I don't know if other people feel that way as well. Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on that, and if you too feel like you've kind of gone in that direction. So I'm 33 years old, and I don't know, like, I'm kind of the older age of the millennials. So I was kind of there before technology, had a good chunk of life before technology really took over, like the internet, social media, all of that. But I'm also, so I kind of lived a big chunk of life without it, but I'm also now living a big chunk of life with it, where I'm not too old to appreciate the technology. Like, I appreciate the hell out of technology, but I also remember it very well without. Yeah, and I don't know if it's just like a generational thing where I'm in that weird generation that hasn't lived a whole life without it, but also hasn't lived a full life with it. Like, it's almost half and half, where, well, it's not really half and half, is it? But the majority of my adult life has been with technology, but I remember my childhood and my college years without it. So I kind of have a very good understanding of both sides and the impacts that I feel like it's had on me. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So yeah, that was on my mind, because I just feel like my brain has so many different tabs open the same way my laptop screen does. And is it a result of this generation wanting access to information so much more quickly than the previous generation? Is it because everything's just so accessible that we're just digesting it far more quickly? And do we feel like that we're digesting it, but actually we're not? Because I personally feel like I'm not. So yeah, that's something that I really want to train myself into changing for me, just so I can get back to feeling like I'm more focused. I feel like that's important for me. And yeah, I think that will help me be more productive in the sense of doing things that I've wanted to do for a long time and just always put off. So like reading, but also like this podcast. I have been saying for the longest time that I will do a podcast. I've uploaded like 4 episodes, 5 episodes. So like, why did it take me so long? So when we went into the lockdown, quarantining, I was like, this is going to be my opportunity. I'm going to be so productive. I'm going to get so much done. I'm saving like 2 hours travel time every single day. It's going to be fab. And like, how many months into lockdown are we? And I don't feel like I've been nearly as productive as I said I was going to be at the start of this lockdown. And I'll use this podcast as an example. I've only uploaded 4 or 5 episodes. Why, when I have so much time on my hand? So one of the reasons is because I live with other people and I don't always get the quiet environment that I need to be able to upload my podcast. The podcast that you're listening to right now, there's been a delay to it because I had audio problems. I'm not a professional podcaster. I'm not in a studio. I have to pick my time very well. So like now I am in a empty house. So that's why I've taken this opportunity to re-record this section of the podcast. But obviously I don't have the equipment that I need, which is why the audio went so wrong with the previous version. But I do want to try and put myself into a bit more of a schedule if I can. And I think the best way to do that is to eliminate other distractors and really seize the opportunity when I have it. Research into the things that I want to talk about and really digest that information so that I can talk about them and clearly talk about them and articulate myself well whilst I talk about them. But also, having said that, like, I don't know which direction I want this podcast to go in. Like, right now, I'm not interviewing anyone. I don't know if anyone would even agree to me interviewing them, because who am I? I'm just a nobody. I'm not a professional interviewer. I'm not a professional podcaster. I don't even have a studio or a podcast set up. So right now, this is just a place for me to jibber jabber on, really. It kind of feels like therapy. It kind of feels like just getting things off my chest and not being quite so in my head. And obviously, I've got friends and family that I can speak to, but sometimes it's just nice to just talk, like literally just talk and have it be a bit like a diary, I guess. And I'm not going to come in here and give up my deepest, darkest secrets. That's not what it is. I just want to have a platform where I can literally just talk and talk and talk about whatever comes into my head. I don't have a purpose here to be controversial. I don't want to piss people off. That's not my game. That's not my ambition. I'm naturally a very positive person. So, like, my mindset just isn't there for controversy. It's literally just a space for me to be able to chat and hopefully engage with you guys, the listeners, through the comment section. So if you ever do have anything to say, just leave a comment down below and I'll try and respond to as many as I possibly can. But also, in the few episodes that I have uploaded, I kind of feel like this is going to be personal growth for me as well, because I've never been a shy person. I feel very confident in speaking, but like I say, my brain is like a million different tabs open at any given time, and I do waffle quite a lot and I do go off tangent quite a lot, and I've noticed it in some of my recordings that I do that. And I think it will be personal growth for me to be able to hear myself back and kind of pick up on some of my mannerisms, things that work and things that don't work, and be able to learn from that and put it into the way that I put thought into words, and really make sure that I'm very clear when I speak, because I'm very aware that I'm not always clear. Sometimes where I've got all of those thousands of tabs open, I'm trying to say too much all at once. Like, I have a point that I want to make, another point starts forming in my brain, I let it interfere, I let it get in the way, I then move on to that point without finishing the first point, and then I don't circle it back round. So I really want to get into becoming a very good natural speaker who can actually give a beginning, middle, and end to her points, and not just be a scattered array of words that just flow out of my mouth. Yeah, I really want to put meaning to what I say and be a really good natural speaker. And so I think this podcast will give me a really good opportunity to do that, because none of it's scripted. Like, I've never scripted anything that I've said, because I think if I did and just read a script, like, I'm the sort of person where if I read off a script, you'll know that I'm reading off a script, because it will literally sound like this. And if I accidentally miss a word, I will stumble and go back and repeat everything that I just said word for word, but with the word that I just, and nobody wants that, do they? So I have previously kind of known what I wanted to say and made a few bullet points and then talked to the bullet points. For this podcast, I literally had no bullet points and just talked off the top of my head. And to be honest, I am enjoying this one far more than I've enjoyed the other ones where I had the bullet points. just because I feel like I can talk much more freely without the bullet points. Because when you have the bullet points, you kind of stick to them, and you are then forced to stick to them. And whilst it gives good structure to the podcast, that's not how we go by in natural day-to-day life, is it? Like when you have a conversation, you don't pause the conversation, put down some bullet points, and then respond with your bullet points. No one talks like that. So I want this to be a bit more free fall and a bit more natural, and just me saying the things that come into my head, but also consciously making an effort to have a flow and be like, when you get some people who are just naturally amazing storytellers, and everything that they say has a beginning, a middle, an end. It's funny. They can put their little jokes in. They're really dramatic at the right moments, and they're just really good natural speakers. I wish I was like that, because like I say, I have the confidence to speak, but I'm just one of these people who I digest a lot. I digress a lot, and I digress a lot. And I stutter my words quite a lot, and it's not like a nervous stutter. I think my brain works faster than I can put those words into an actual audio form, if that makes sense. And it just goes back to all those hundreds of millions of tabs that are just constantly switched on. But I'm looking at this one, I'm looking at that one, I'm looking at that one, I'm looking at that one. But when you are speaking, you can't do that, because there's only one voice. I only have one mouth to get those words out from. So I have to pick which tab I want, speak to that tab, and then start talking about something else, whatever it may be, whatever's popped up into my head. So I feel like that's a bit of a learning that I'm already taking from this podcast, and it's proving to be of value to me. And I hope that you guys enjoy listening to my podcasts as much as I enjoy recording them and doing them, because I am a chatterbox. I do like to talk, whether it's with friends, family, or just sitting on my own like this. I can literally just keep myself entertained as well. And yeah, I hope you guys like this podcast. If there's ever anything that you want me to talk about, just let me know, and I will make an effort to give the people what they want. But yeah, it's like I say, it's not always going to be easy for me to upload, because I have to pick my moments well. But hopefully I can find those moments. Hopefully, with my new aim to be of a focused mind, I can kind of know what I want to talk about roughly, and be able to seize those moments, rather than, oh, I've got a quiet house, oh, but I haven't thought about what I want to talk about. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Make sure you give me a like, subscribe, notification button switched on, so you get notified every time I upload. And let's keep this going, you guys. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye.